So, for most of you, this channel started off as the funny Trailmakers armor guy, coming from these videos I made a while ago. In these I covered some mechanics on just how armor works in this game, and why it works the way it does. Some time has passed since then, and why not remake that video? Precisely because this time around I have a mic that's not atrocious, and a few changes have come to the game's functionalities that should 100% be addressed, and in a short, compact manner. I won't hold you back for much longer, so let's just dive straight in. I will let you in on the concept of und, meaning units of damage. One und is equal to one bullet from a smart or small cannon. So, if I say that this block right here has 4 und, that's your clue to know that this block can take 4 shots from this thing before dying. That's the HP it has. And so for example, this block, I will say it has 4 und. That's your cue to know that this thing can take 4 shots before dying. This game, some of these resistance numbers are quite straightforward. Most normal building blocks, mechanical blocks, and engines have exactly 4 und. Just like that. This means that this 2x4 right here has the exact same HP as this 1x2, which has the exact same HP as this 1x1. Kind of crazy, right? There are a few exceptions to the rules, but overall they are kind of this standard. One of the exceptions that are most glaring, for example, is this 4x8 here, which has 8 und. And while that may seem impressive, I just need you to think for a moment how many of these 1x2s or pipe blocks you can fit in the same area. So just let that sink in for a moment. This right here has 8 und, and this right here occupies the exact same area, but each one of these blocks has 2 und. It does not really require a whole lot of math to know that this thing right here has a whole lot more HP than this right here, which is where one of the main components that we are going to use comes from, which is material density. Smaller blocks, in general, are far better for defenses and armor building than bigger blocks. Using this bigger block over here as your armor plating, not only do you have a disadvantage on just raw HP, the moment this thing falls, you just have a massive gaping hole in your armor because, of course, look at all the area it covers. While over here, these are much smaller, and they're just much harder to create a big gaping hole that can be exploited. So for example, if I come over here, even shooting, that was not hard at all. You know, like, there's just a massive hole in your armor. While here, I can lay down fire, a very tiny hole over here with 2 clips thrown into it, compared to the entire thing just being gone over here on this side. Wow, Nosferatus, that was really easy. So that's all you need to do to get some good armor going? The answer still is no, because for us to get into the juicy stuff, I need to present you to some of the fancier blocks, the blocks that have a very above the average effect on the armor of your vehicles. I'm going to be honest, whenever you're dealing with explosives or any of the heavier stuff that can do damage, of course, just using 1x2s won't do. That's just not enough. We need some meat in these bones. Let's go over these heavy blocks. You can find them over in this tab, and these ones in specific are pretty good, because each one of them has 14 und. So even if you stack 2 1x2s over here, it covers the exact same area, but this heavy block still has an advantage, 14 und, alongside us fitting a bunch of 1x2 shields all over the place, because remember, these have the exact same HP as these, and each one of these also has 14 wounds. If we cover the surface like this, you pretty much instantaneously have some pretty insane armor. From having this simple plate, even like just these shields, like not even the heavy box, you are pretty much instantaneously immune to small armor fight. As you can see over here, look at all the shots. That plate is just taking no issue whatsoever. It's honestly just kind of ridiculous, like not a single block has fallen, and only now one of the shields has fallen. As you can see, no penetration whatsoever. The only issue is that it is heavy. Each one of these blocks is 50 kilograms. And honestly, I'm going to say this, unless you are making a vehicle that is meant to fly or swim, this pretty much doesn't matter. If you are making a vehicle that's going to stick to the ground, that's never going to leave it to the water or the air, it is just inconsequential. If it is the case that you want to make a vehicle that's going to either fly or swim, and you want it to have good armor, and of course that armor cannot weight the average weight of a League of Legends player, then this right here is your answer. They weigh very little, they weigh in fact half of what normal blocks do. They have the exact same HP, and when you pair a bunch of these with some 1x2 shields, you have some pretty good on concentration over here. It is some pretty good armor. That's very lightweight. Like look at this thing. I'm going to make a pretty big plate over here. Only 15 kilograms. It is pretty good. There are more blocks over here. Again, there's the whole thing that the more blocks there are, it's much harder for there to be a massive gaping hole just showing up in the middle of the armor, meaning that it's very hard for a catastrophic failure to occur. And as you can see over here, like for example, if you, like let's say these blocks are blocks, right, like bang bang, all of these, you still have plenty of connection points. You know, like there are a bunch of blocks here that can really absorb the hits. However, if we are to say that about, for example, heavy blocks, each one of them occupies a pretty vast area. So for example, if we lose, let's say, this, and this, like 3 blocks, it's a pretty darn bad spot right here, because for example, if this falls, these two, they just collapse. That right there is a bit of a bad collapse that's going to happen, because you're just losing these 2 blocks due to that. Over here, that's much harder to happen. You know, like, only happened here to this shield, but as you can see, I can just go around like deleting, losing blocks, all that shit. At most, it's very hard for this to like randomly collapse because a few blocks in the back went away. And now, let's go over the single most busted block in the game, the anchor pin. This thing has 30 und in its name. It is hard to use because it only has one connection phase, so you know, it's hard to make reliable armor to use it. But the moment you understand how to use this thing, I can promise you, you are going to be quite happy with the results. And I may see some of you already going, just planting a bunch of these in front of your weight blocks and thinking that's going to be peak armor. I guarantee you, it's not going to be very good. The biggest reason as to why is simple. The anchor pin only has a single face. This means that they are only going to make use of the busted resistance as long as the block holding them is alive. The moment these things fall, they are dead. They are good for. So, you need to make a system of armor that has the blocks holding the anchor pins well protected and safe, so that the anchor pins can work for as long as they can. And if you have been taking notes so far, we are going to use a bunch of the knowledge that I have given to you to make that glorious plate of armor. So let's just start that off with having just a nice little heavy plate over here. With a few shields, you should never neglect these, they can really add up. I am actually going to add a layer of heavy blocks over here, and right over here, these heavy blocks in the back, they are going to be the ones that are going to be holding the pins for us. Notice how they're a bit further back, which means that they are much less vulnerable to explosion damage to just being randomly taken off. And to hold them, to make the connections, I am going to use a bunch of pipe blocks over here on the sides, not only because they are pretty resistant on their own right, each one of them has 4 wounds. They also offer several connection points. Each one of these is like a bunch of connection points, which makes it so that catastrophic failure over here from the back is pretty hard to happen. And I am going to apply the exact same thing over here at the front. One way I can do it, for example, is to just have all the heavy blocks positioned here at the center and have either pipe blocks come over here from the sides. This is a whole lot of connection points. It is pretty dense. There's a lot of HP going on over here. All I really need to do now is to just get shields all over this thing. You should always have a bunch of layers of armor all around this place. And of course this is a very large scale model, but as you can see, this is kind of what a peak model looks like. I'm going to dip this down, and over here you can see we have the heavy blocks that are holding the pins. They are over here all the way in the back. They are very well protected. We have a bunch of layers in this thing, and if I am to simply run a quick test over here and begin firing away, you can see one shot from a large cannon literally did not do anything to this rather small armor piece. It's a pretty decent piece. I have got a little bit of some more chunkiness to it. I even got a little bit of a back layer of pins here. But I wonder, how should I use this to test for it, to just make sure that it is really safe? What's that? Oh, holy shit, it's my gold, Pedro. Let's do some shooting on this guy. Yeah, you know the drill. We're going to shove that guy into some locker and force him to take all the shots we want. Sure, he loves it. Like, I mean, he's going to have an RPG pointed at him in just a second, but you can just know that he is perfectly safe. La concha de tu madre, no sabes parar una pelota! Perfectly safe. I am going to try out 3 different kinds of armor against cannons, machine guns, and lasers. And we're going to test out just how fucked up Pedro is going to be by the end of it. This first one is the model I just showed you. The second one is a model that uses only 2x4 blocks and shields, which I liked calling Normie armor because this is the most common stuff you're going to see around. And this right here is whole armor, which used to be good, but there are way too many people that really like hyping this thing as still being meta, so, you know, let's just throw a wrench in that. First test, machine gun on whole armor. The shields at the front held up well, but once we get to the actual whole blocks, we can see that very quickly armor is only as good as the shields in front of it hold. See how he handles explosions. First shot, quite a few pieces went out. Second shot, yeah. Oh, that's a gore video. Gore of my comfort character. And now, last but not least, the laser. Yeah. One single clip from one single laser really did melt through that thing. I don't think Pedro has a frontal lobe anymore. Running with the Normie armor, let's see how that goes. First off, with a simple machine gun. The shields absorb the first mag very well. However, yeah, with the second it goes through, it really begins piercing through. Again, just like the whole armor, the second that the shield blocks are gone over here on the surface, it just melts through. Let's now see how well it goes against an explosion. And first shot, lots of debris. Second shot. Oh, it seems like it went through. Yeah, the armor over here collapsed. Pedro is not having a good time right now. That is a failure from the armor. And again, last but not least, the laser. Yeah. Did anyone expect anything else? Just like the other one. Heavy armor positioned, the armor that we have built. Let's see how well it does. First off, the machine gun. It's going to take a while. I think you get the point, right? That we just hit the pins. You just look at it. These things are so busted, man. Next up, let's see how many large cannon shots it can take. First. Second. Third. Fifth, 6th, 7th. I actually need to respond this man. 8th. How is Peter doing? He's taking some damage over here, but nothing serious. Let's just keep going. I lost now. I should not have launched a competitor. I'm sure you guys are keeping count, right? You're smart boys and ladies, I'm sure. I think that was it. Yeah. That was like 10 shots? Unbelievable, honestly. The laser test. Let's see if Pedro is going to be lobotomized a third time. Just like I was when I was trying to pronounce this thing just now. I'm recording this at 3 AM, send help. One clip. 2 clips. And it went through. It required a few more clips, but as you can see, yeah, even this mighty armor still can't do much against the dreaded lasers. So, as I believe it was clear to see, just using a few pins and the right configurations for your armor can do wonders for just how much it can hold. And if you are looking at me and saying, I'm Nosferatus, well, why did you not run any missile tests? Well, missiles are pretty much just weaker and large cannons. So yeah, I decided to just jump over that. Like, if you wonder how missiles would do against that armor, just count as if like I had to do like 4 or 5 more shots before getting to that end result. And on another note, I want to touch up on 2 more things that I myself was not able to replicate for this video, but a few friends on the console have been able, especially some people in the Imperial Forge, which is the Discord server I have open. You should totally join, by the way. And there are 2 kinds of armor penetrators that exist, but apparently they only exist in console, because I have been trying to use them in PC and they work in completely different ways. The first being HVAP cannons, those being cannons that are fired at an insanely fast speed, to the point where they just straight up ignore armor and jump right through to the innards of any vehicles. No matter how much I tried to simulate it, I could not get it to work. I'm not sure if it's just a console thing or I don't know what it is, but if any of you who's watching this video knows how to get this going on PC, make sure to give me a tap. And the other thing are kinetic projectiles, which I have been kind of unlucky. I have not been able to get any of these working. Like a classic, very fast projectile that just goes through the armor. Most of the time it just bounces off. And there have been people on my server that play on the console that have been greatly successful at getting some of this going. And I do believe kinetic projectiles may still have a future, but ever since they got nerfed like a few updates ago, I just don't see them having much of a position. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. Anyway, that is all I had for you today. See you out later. Bye.